Okay, so we looked yesterday a water vapor canopy model that some young earth creationists argued that before the flood there was a water vapor canopy, right? A canopy that covers the earth, right? And it argument was it brought a greenhouse gas effect, which helped trees to grow taller, a lot of vegetations, and it helped human being to live longer. It helped even animals that are so huge in sizes, like dinosaurs. So that was the argument. But what is the problem that we face with that argument? Okay, that is what we are going to look at today. This is so some of these informations. My esteemed professor, Dr. McCabe, actually has given a lot of refutation. He has refuted some of these arguments, and so some of the informations you might see in your notes about his arguments from the website. You can look into that one. The links are given in the notes. All right. Now, so what are the problem? For example, body hordes. In a young earth creationist, he explains this one. He says, if a canopy existed and collapsed at the time of flood to supply the rainfall, first problem, the latent heat of condensation would have boiled the atmosphere. Right? Argument is that, okay, one second. Are you able to hear me well?
Yes, sir. We are able to hear you.
Okay. So, and the atmosphere would have boiled. And another problem, because you imagine that until this time the sunrise was trained and it is coming to the earth, but suddenly that huge cover has just gone. It would have really made a mess to the earth. Number two, he was saying a canopy would not have had enough water vapor to sustain 40 days and nights of torrential global rain. They would not have had that much. So that is the second problem. He says, as far as earth topography is concerned, right? So you have links here. This is one links to Answers in Genesis. Remember, I talked about Answers in Genesis. This is a great website, right? You have any doubts on biblical creationism, you wanted to have more understanding, maybe you want to read about more newest research, go to Answers in Genesis, right? This is one of the greatest website. I believe that every biblical Christian should have somehow, it is saved in their web page somewhere, this address, so that they can go to any time they want. All right. And another significant, he holds notes. The major problem with the canopy model is that this model would cause major problems for the regulation of the Earth's temperature, right? The canopy model would cause a lot of problems for the regulating of the Earth's temperature, because a canopy, what it would do, would trap and retain the heat, right? So now we know that all the heat that comes doesn't come directly it comes, but a lot of heat just goes back. But canopy would do what? The heat that comes would be trapped here inside the earth, right? Because of the canopy doesn't let the heat to go away, which is actually creating a lot of heat inside the earth, and it is a problem. Okay, that's one. Now, these are all some of the scientific explanations of why a canopy model don't work. But we have a biblical problem. What is the biblical problem? Biblical problem is, this is what you read. If the expanse, remember, God is separating water from water and created an expanse, right? And if the expanse separates the water on earth from that which is above the earth, right? And sun, moon, stars are part of the expanse, then the water vapor canopy is beyond the sun, moon, and stars. That's a problem. This is the biggest problem. What is the problem? Did you get the problem? Right? The separation of the above water is where actually? It is separated to where according to Genesis chapter 1, verse 6 to 8. Okay, let's, for a minute, let's read that verse again. Right, let's read it so that we have, can one of you please read?
And God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate the water from water. So God made the vault and separated the waters under the vault from the waters above it.
Okay.
And it was so.
It was so. So you see, and now we say a vault, right? You know that. What is that other word for the vault? Expanse, right? Expanse. And look at verse 14 and 14 onwards now. Let's read from 14. Same chapter.
And God said, let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as a sign to mark sacred times and days and years. And let them be light in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth. And it was so.
Okay, so where is the stars and sun, moon is placed?
In the vault.
In the vault, right? So that is the problem, right? That means the water that is above is beyond that. Basically, it is so the argument for a water canopy that was covered in the atmosphere was not really sustainable. That is the major problem. All right, and so what it is a good to argue, but I don't think it is really, they have really looked into the Bible. So that's one theory that came. Okay, sorry. One theory that came here, and that is about the creation of the earth and the atmosphere. That is a water canopy model. That so we need to look at. Okay, so this is what the creation of the earth. Okay, now let's look at this chapter or part 4, Old Earth Creationism. All right, today my aim will be to present you at least four views that talk about Old Earth Creationism. All right, what is the difference between Old Earth Creationism versus young Earth Creationism? Right, young Earth, right? Old Earth, young Earth. right? Older creationists believe that God took billions of years to create the universe. Young of the creationists believe it is, the earth is very young, maybe a few thousand, all right? Few thousand years old. Now, by the way, as we study among the young earth creationists, there could be two groups, right? There could be two groups. There are. For example, most of the young earth creationists would say Earth is just 6,000 years old, right? 6,000 years old. Most of the young earth. But then there are other people who say, no, maybe it is more than that. Maybe at 10,000 or 10,000 to 20,000 years old. But still, whether it is 6,000 years old or 10,000 years old, comparing to billions of years old, it is huge difference, right? Huge difference. So I will explain what is my problem, maybe with 6,000 years. Maybe, what are the difficulties that we face? I might show you as we progress this one. Right? I might go I might lean to this view, and I will explain the reason why. I strongly don't think that it is simply 6,000. Maybe it is a little more than that. Okay, now let's look at the order of the creationism. First of all, the idea is that either Earth is 4 to 5 billion years old, right? Earth is 4 to 5, and the universe as a whole about 15 billion years old. All right. So that is what this order of the creationists think, along with or other evolutionists. All right. So what are the problems? Now we are going to look at 4 figurative interpretation of the creation week. Right. I do believe that these 4 figurative interpretations are wrong. But I'm going to explain now what do they believe. What is their understanding of first chapter of Genesis? Right. Well, their main problem for them is that they take Bible and natural and physical science on a same level. They believe that both are important, both are authoritative. That is what they believe. So let's look at quickly these views. Number 1 is known as theistic evolution. Right? What is theistic evolution? God originally created. So this is what, if you take evolutionary view, you take that view and just add God to that, right? Then you will get theistic evolution, right? Theistic means, remember, God. So God originally created non-living matter that contained the resident properties that had the potential to evolve into the wide variance of life forms that are presently observable. All right. All what God did was that God began everything, and then later, by billions of years, it will evolve into what you have seen now, right? So God used evolutionary naturalism through extended geological age to produce all current life forms. So this is what theistic evolution, all right? So I have given some more explanation where this has come. See, theistic evolution is not a predominant view among evangelicals. not a predominant view. Very few people actually believe, but there are, for example, Howard J. Van Til from Calvin College. He presented a paper and he was saying God has so generously gifted the creation with the capabilities for self-organization and transformation that an unbroken line of evolutionary development from non-living matter to the full array of existing life forms is not only possible, but has in fact taken place. So this is what scientists who has some kind of Christian leaning would claim. All right, so that is the first one. Evolution, it's a theistic evolution, the first view. Right, and we are not going to say why they are wrong. That would be maybe next week we would explain. Second view. Second view is something that I already discussed quite a bit, so it is not necessary that I should explain much. Second is a day-age view. All right, what is day-age view? According to this group of theologians and scholars, they wanted to say the Hebrew word yom, right? Yom means what? A day. Hebrew word yom, day, may be used in a figurative sense to refer to an extended period of time. Okay? Hebrew word yom is used as an extended period of time. Now, for example, they would come up, I have explained the arguments, so not necessary to explain. For example, day of the Lord. Remember, if you have listened to my class on that day, I explained day of the Lord is not a single day. It is an extended period of time. And the same argument that they present in addition of the seventh day, that it has no conclusion of evening and morning, and therefore it is an age, right? So, for example, Grudem, Wayne Grudem, remember his statement, this is what he believes. He is a Reformed theologian, right? Reformed theologian. This is what Wayne Grudem says, right? The evident advantage of this view is that if the current, look at this one, if the current scientific estimate for an Earth that is 4.5 billion years old is correct, it explains how the Bible is consistent with the fact. So what these theologians want to do, they wanted to say, yes, Bible is consistent with the science. That is what they wanted to say, right? Among evangelicals who hold to an order of the view, this is a common position, right? This view also is called as concordist view, because it seeks agreement or concord between Bible and scientific conclusions about dating. Okay, so this is the problem. Okay, this is the second view, and here you have a. Okay, let me see if I can show you. If you have studied science, then you might have seen this picture, right? This is what the evolutionists, understanding of the evolution, right? So they divide, they will divide, like, for example, pre-Cambrian period, Cambrian period, and Ordovician period. Right, it's hard to read. Silurian period, Devonian period, Mississippian period, Pennsylvanian period, Permian period, Triassic period, Cretaceous period, Tertiary period, and Quaternary period, whatever. All right. So if you have ever been to science, and you will see this one, how the evolution has taken place, and look at how. And it begins from here, right? It begins from this side, right? And it evolves, evolves, and finally you see this one, right? So that is how they explain the evolution. So if you are if you're a science geek and you wanted to know more, we go ahead and look into the picture. Sometime we might refer some of the words from this one. That is the reason the picture is given for a reference. All right. Now, so we looked at second view. All right. First view is a theistic evolution. What is the second view? Second view is a day-age view. That means they would say this when the Bible talks about creation happened by 6 days, right? 6 days, it equals to 6 geological age, right? 6 geological age. That is what day-age theory actually believes. All right, now let's look at the third view. All right, third view. What is the third view? It is known as progressive creationism, right? Progressive creationism. Progressive creationism is a distinct form, distinct from theistic evolution, in that that progressive creationists postulate that God, while using evolution, intervenes at key junctures to create life forms that would not naturally evolve, right? For them, the problem was, as they were looking at the evolutionary pyramid, and they were saying, there are certain areas that evolution has a problem, right? So what they said, no, God, unlike theistic evolution, in a theistic evolution, God only began in the first phase. Then God just, let it happen, let it evolve. God does not intervene at all. But for progressive creationism, at the key junctures, God intervened. God intervened at the key junctures. In reference to God's involvement in evolution, theistic evolution postulates that God created all current forms of living things from non-living matter by strictly using mechanism of evolution. In contrast to this, progressive creationists assert that God progressively intervenes in many places to create specific life forms in the course of billions of years. So they also believe that yes, God is behind it. It took billions of years, but it is not that God intervened in the beginning, but in between also. And Half Ross is a famous evangelical spokesperson of this theory. All right, he also maybe was a frequent speaker in a Trinity Broadcasting Network, TBN, which is somewhat famous for some people. All right, now, for example, he would say God used the Big Bang approximately 15 billion years ago to create the universe. All right, then if you see eventually, then God also intervenes in the creation of Adam. God intervenes when at the key junctures, God intervenes. That's a simple fact. All right, so that is the third view. Remember, what are the order of the creationist view? Number 1, theistic evolution. Number 2, day-age theory. Number 3, progressive creationism. Number 4, framework interpretation. This is quite interesting, and has taken a lot of hard work to present this one. But we are going to look at why it is wrong and what is this theory actually is. All right, framework interpretation. Professor Ari Nodzi, all right, University of I think somewhere in Germany, Utrecht, initially outlined the framework hypothesis in 1924. However, later, this is there is another reformed scholar, Meredith Klein, actually helped to explain a little more in 1958. And his article was the phrase, because it had not rained. Remember, yesterday we looked at it from Genesis chapter 2, right? God did not cause rain until that time. So, so in that article, he says, okay, now listen carefully. The framework view asserts that creation week of Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 to 1, chapter 2, verse 3, is a literary device, right? This chapter, like it is, chapter from 1 till chapter 2, verse 3, is a literary device intended to present God's creative activity in a topical manner, not a sequential manner, right? So it is, rather than a literal, it is a sequential one. So 3 arguments he makes. Let's look at the arguments. You need to listen carefully to understand his argument. First, he argues that certain features of creation account suggest that it should be read topically rather than chronologically. For instance, overall structure used in the creation week is a literary scheme of 6 workday frame, right? So note that one. 6 workday frame. Okay, so there are 6 workday frame. Each day is introduced by divine announcement, right? For example, you will see God said, let it happen, let there be light, right? So in each day you would see this God's announcement, this closed structures each day of the creation week. In addition, God said is used twice on 2 days. All right? So that is okay. The 3rd day and the 6th day, God 2 times said, God said, let there be something, right? So from this framework, supporters suggest that there are 8 creative events, right? Get the observation. Number 2 here, 6 workday frame, which has got 8 creative events, right? 6-day frame, 8 creative events. Why 8 creative events? Because 2 days, God used the word God said 2 times. So that means there are 8 creative events. Within each frame, the author of Genesis either gives a snapshot of God's creative work, something reflected, for example, by a fiat fulfillment expression. Remember, a fiat or we would say a decree. What is a decree? You will see, let there be light, right? Let there be light. That is the decree of God. That is a fiat of God. That is a command of God. Then there is a fulfillment, and there was light. So you have the decree of God and a fulfillment of that. Okay. So that is what a divine fiat and fulfillment. On the 1st, 2nd, and 4th, 5th days, okay, on the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th days, or 2 snapshots, such as on the 3rd and 6th day, you have about 8 creation events. So when the 6 workday frames are viewed as a whole, the 8 creation events are evenly divided into parallel units of 3 days. All right. So how he's going to explain, we are going to see with the first day corresponding to the fourth day. So these are what he is saying. This sixth day is actually kind of a framework. One thing corresponds to other, right? A framework, right? So the first day would be corresponding to fourth day, second to the fifth, and third to the sixth. Thus, first 3 days form a unit of 4 creative activities that are parallel by the last 3 days with the same number of creative events. All right, so how we have to see it. This is what he explains, all right, his framework. All right, so he explains creation kingdoms, creature kings. All right, creation kingdom, creature kings, and then there is a creator. And he would explain, day 1, God created the light. But day 4, he created what? Luminaries like sun, moon, and stars. Right? Day 2, he created what? Firmament, sky, and seas. Day 5, right? He created inhabitants of sea and winged creatures. Right? Because sea creatures and winged creatures in the sky. And day 3, dry land and vegetation. And day 6, land animals and man. So you see, it corresponds, right? Day 1 corresponds to day 4. Day 2 corresponds to day 5. Day 3 corresponds to day 6, and day 7 is the Sabbath. So, as this chart shows, structural arrangement of both triads indicates that the literary arrangement of the creation account reflects a topical arrangement rather than a chronological sequence. And it emphasizes divine creative activities that culminate with the Creator, King's Sabbath rest. All right, so that is the explanation. So it is not literal days. There is not at all talking about days. Actually, it is talking about 6 framework with 8 creation events. Second, it argued that an unending character of the 7th day, which we already looked at, indicates the 6 days of the creation week are not normal, right? This is also from Klein. They come with the same argument. 7th day has no morning, no evening, so it is not an ending day. So that means the days of the chapter 1, first to 6 days, not necessary to be symbol 24 hours day. All right, and the third, those framework advocates who follow Klein also argue that God used ordinary providence. All right, this is another interesting observation. What is the observation? God used ordinary providence in creation, not miracles. Creation was not miraculous in nature. Not miraculous in nature, it was providential in nature. For example, all right, the argument is predicated on interpreting the phrase because it had not rained in Genesis 2 verse 5, suggesting that God did not create plants until he first created an environment conducive to sustain plants. Right, based on what Klein calls the unargued presupposition of Genesis 2 verse 5, he infers that God only used ordinary providence to control the creation week. All right, so he believed that it cannot be a sequential, but it is just framework. All right, and what we are going so you have seen 4 theories, right? What are the 4 theories? 4 theories that talk about old earth creationism. Number one, a theistic evolution, right? That's the first one we looked at. And second one we looked at a day-age theory. Day-age theory. Third, progressive creationism. It is different from theistic evolution, where God intervened at a key juncture and still gave room for evolution. Number four, framework interpretation. All right. So the evaluation of the theory, we need to have a little more, we need to have more time. So what we will do, we will look at that in the next class.